The words of the Apostle Paul were true. The scene of the world was changing. It was a difficult time for our brothers and sisters in the city of Detroit in the 1940s. They were facing tests of their faith and neutrality at school, at work, and even in the courts. How would you have reacted? How would you have maintained your faith and neutrality? Let's take a trip back in time to see how our brothers and sisters maintain theirs and find encouragement for when we have to maintain ours.
There's an old saying that if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. And they apply that to history. So our history is important. My dad was baptized in '31, my mom 2 years later. So I went to the Kingdom Hall in diapers, babe in arms. So about the time I was learning to talk, I was also learning about Jehovah. So it just started then, but it's hard to say when I came into the truth because it happens, you don't even know it's happening, I suppose.
My father learned the truth 100 years ago, 1914. So I was raised in the truth and was baptized in 1949, July 2nd here in Detroit.
My parents were in the truth, so I was raised in the truth, but I was baptized in 1952.
As far as the truth is concerned, I've been associated with it all my life.
I've been in the truth all my life, but I was baptized in 1950 in Dover, England.
My parents were baptized in 1918. They heard the talk Brother Charles Taze Russell gave, millions now live who will never die, because there was an assembly in Asheville, North Carolina. And after that, they began studying, and they were witnesses when I was born. So was my mother's mother.
About 1951, when I was in Germany, my mother wrote and told me she was studying with the witnesses. And so when I come out of the service in 1952, she had the brothers to come by and talk to me, and it sounded logical. And so I wasn't ready to settle down. So I studied sort of haphazardly for a few years. In 1959, I got serious. 2 years later, in 1961, I got baptized.
I was born on September 1st, 1931. I was baptized September 25th, 1945. And if you look on my publisher's card, in parentheses, it says fossil. I was born when the Great Depression started. And my mother lost 3 children. 2 of them were a year old and 1 died at birth. So she always believed that her babies were safe in the arms of Jesus. She's a very devout woman. So every Sunday she would faithfully listen to the Baptist hour coming from Nashville, Tennessee. Well, the radio we had, you couldn't get that unless somebody held the ground wire. So she would either take me or my brother, whoever she could catch first, and make us hold that wire. Well, she had insurance policies on us that used to be like a nickel a week. And this man started calling on Sunday to collect for this insurance. Well, when he heard this Baptist hour, he started asking her if she believed in hell. And she said, most certainly, the Baptists teach hell. So she said that her babies were safe in the arms of Jesus. And he says, no, they're not. And it really perked her. She actually got a little mad. And he showed her in the scriptures where her babies were waiting for a resurrection. So that's the first thing I remember about my mother gaining the truth. The only thing I found it, I loved it because I didn't have to hold that custard wire anymore.
During the time when I was young was during World War II. So we experienced things during the war, and as young children, we had to carry gas masks with us because of gas warfare. We had to be aware of, at nighttime, if the sirens went off, you had to go to a shelter. So that was kind of like the era that I grew up in my younger years. And what was good about that is the fact that even though we were living during the war, we never missed meetings. There were no street lights because of enemy planes coming over, and they didn't want them to know where all the towns were, because of the danger. And so at night, if we were going to the Kingdom Hall, we just used flashlights to get to the Kingdom Hall and home again.
The Korean War started, and I had just turned 18. I got into the draft system, and naturally, they wouldn't recognize me as a minister. A lot of people don't understand. The society holds the same type of a charter or similar charter with the government that the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church or the Lutheran Church. Congress doesn't appoint your ministers. The church appoints the ministers, but they would not recognize any of us as ministers. And that's what the whole issue came over. So that went on for decades. So when I turned 1950, I got my first questionnaire, and it went on until 1957. I went through it, the whole thing twice. And then they finally put me in prison at when I was 26. Well, anyhow, when I got in prison, we had a small congregation between 20 and 28 brothers, depending on when they were coming in and when they were being paroled. Time is a terrible thing to do, but prison was good for me. I grew up in the truth. I was a servant. I believed it with all my heart, but I didn't see the world for what it really was. And when I was in there, I saw things that really opened my eyes, and I found out the importance of prayer. I used to tease the brothers in there, when you pray at night, where else could you go and hear the angels hum and keep your eyes on the prize in the background? But it was a good experience for me, a life-altering experience.
The story starts out kind of on the sad end. Our family was, extended part of it, was involved in an area where some very difficult things were happening that shouldn't have been happening. And it really got to me, and because it was affecting my family and me. In fact, we were in danger of leaving Jehovah's organization. And so I started looking for something that could handle this and take it away. And I ended up in the Bible in Samuel, and he was having a hard time in the somewhat same area that the people associated with this problem were. And it was causing some to lose the truth. That's when I learned about patience, because it's just hard to believe that Jehovah would allow this to go on for so long. But he did, and the account is in the Bible for us to read. And we read it quite a few times. And it helped a lot. There were some tears shed at night, trying to sleep. And it helped a lot when we got down to the nitty-gritty that we knew Jehovah wasn't responsible for it, but yet you're kind of complaining in your heart about why he doesn't straighten it out. Well, who am I to tell Jehovah what to do? He knows it's there. He's going to take care of it. And if that was the only problem facing mankind today, it wouldn't be so bad. But that problem and other problems like it, and just the world in general, is getting worse instead of better. But in Jehovah's organization, love is being showed to all brothers and sisters the way it should be.
I've always thought the ministry was a key in my own relationship with Jehovah. And I always favored the ministry. I favored, and I think that's a good thing to not only for older ones, but especially the young ones, because it sort of helps you to get really grounded in the truth.
My advice is to the parents, if you want to have children that are going to serve Jehovah, you've got to take the lead in that. You have to make it fun for them. It's not just going to the meetings. I know our boy that was interviewed last year in New York at the convention, and one of the questions was asked, were you, was that pressure to be in the truth as a young kid? And he said yes.
He said the world will pressure you.
If you don't.
So why won't you pressure? Your parents pressure you.
So we made it a joy, and I think parents, those that have lacked to do that, have lost their children.
We were very busy in the truth, so that's the only thing that protected you was going to your meetings, studying for your meetings, and participating, and helping others to get to the Kingdom Hall. Being busy is a protection because Jehovah has work for us to do.
In Hebrews 11 chapter, it lists all these faithful men, Abraham and Moses, and it says they died without the promise. You and I have a promise. It's not just a hope, it's a promise. And that's the greatest comfort in the world.
Always, always put Jehovah first. You know, if you put Jehovah first in everything that you do, Jehovah will bless you. And always pray to Jehovah. One thing my mother taught us, and that was to really express yourself to Jehovah. She said sometimes you may have a problem that's so deep you don't know how to express it. Even if you have to cry to Jehovah, talk to Jehovah about it, and Jehovah will help you. And so I would say if there's any problem that you have, turn to Jehovah and tell him. And if you can't put it in words, just tell him that, because he already knows what you're going through.
Learn to have patience on Jehovah and his organization. Stay close to it. Don't expect everything to be perfect. We're still mankind. And everybody we associate is in the same condition. So just look forward to the future. Be patient. And hope that your brothers are too.